The Vergas Show is brought to you by Spanky Stone Hearth, casual fine dining on beautiful Rose Lake. Vergas State Bank, your locally owned community full-service bank. Vergas Event Center for gatherings large or small, including weddings. Vergas Liquor Store, where all the profits profit Vergas.
Make the right call. Call Hanson's, the most trusted name in plumbing and heating.
Hi, welcome to the Vergas Show. I'm Sherri Hanson. I'm here today at the Vergas Fire Hall. We're on the insides of it, so if you're driving by, this is a part that you probably don't see unless the doors are open up. And I'm with Dean Haarstick, who's the Assistant Chief of the Vergas Rescue Squad. Hey, Dean.
Yes.
Yeah, thanks for joining me today. We're going to talk a little bit today about the history of the Vergas Fire and Rescue. I always say fire and rescue, but it's a Vergas Rescue. First, well, maybe that's a good way to start it, Dean, is tell me, when people talk about the Vergas Fire Department, they just automatically assume the Rescue Department. Tell me about when the Rescue Department got started.
Rescue started in 1985.
Okay.
And it was, I can recall being on the fire department at that time. There was emergency. They said, well, let's call the fire department out to help. And when we got there, we could see there was a problem and didn't have a clue of what to do. So at that time, we decided to start training to do better things on emergency.
On the emergency side of it. Who was the first person that was in charge of that? Was that you?
John Turgeon. And did an excellent job and went on from there. So.
And so you've been around since 1985, and so training. I mean, obviously, you just talked about that you went out there, you guys didn't know what to do. Tell me about what you guys do to start when you started and what you continue to do with training.
We have what they call a first responder training, and that takes 45 hours to do and gets you familiar with what's going on in the rig and all this stuff. We're also...
there's like some continuing ed
type stuff that you get, and that varies from, let's say, pediatric problems to older persons problems.
So Dean, if I would want to become a first responder here in the Vergas unit, and so I would have to go through the 45-hour training, correct?
Correct.
And then what would I have to do from there?
Show up for the meetings and keep up with the continuing ed and stuff like this, and tried to make calls too. I mean, that's just.
And so, living in the city limits, of course, doing business in the city limits is helpful because the unit comes out of the rescue squad here.
Right.
And so, walk me through the process. Okay, I'm having an emergency at my home. What happens?
You dial 911. And that goes through Fergus Falls. Then we're paged back, and they give us a brief description of what's happening. I mean, if they've got shortness of breath, chest pains, this kind of thing. And then we respond as quick as we get to the hall. We say, Vergas Rescue responding to call. Then Otter Tail knows that somebody's on the way and for help.
Sure.
And goes that way. So
okay. And so then, how many people do you need to show up, or how do you guys determine that who shows up?
Well, whoever can. We haven't really had problems of surplus of people. When we first started, it was probably 6, 7 all the time, and that's cut back a little bit. You should have 3 people per patient that you're working with. Works better.
Okay, and so, I can't tell you, how much I respect the rescue squad because, personally, my family has used it. I can't imagine anybody out there who hasn't had to at some point or has some kind of experience with it. So the number of hours that you guys put in is pretty incredible. How many people do you have on the squad right now?
I think around 15.
Around 15,
yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And so tell me a little bit about the rigs. What do the rigs have to be equipped with?
Well, we've got a lot of, you might say, toys inside there. We've got a Lucas, which does the chest compressions for you, which is a tremendous help, and that I think was $15,000 when we got that. We also expanded to a 12 lead, which tells us kind of how your heart's working and all that stuff and that kind of thing. And then a bunch of the standard splints and all that other stuff.
So the relationship between you and the ambulance and then the Ottertail County services, tell me a little bit about that.
Okay, we got excellent working with the ambulances, and also the sheriff department also helps us tremendously. A lot of times they've been given kind of a bad rap, and they have been nothing but super helpful for us.
Right.
Helping either carry something or run the radio or this kind of stuff.
And sometimes it's just a matter of you just need them for interference as far as if you're in a roadway or things like that.
Yeah, they take care. I mean, they do their job first, and then if there's extra time, they would help. Let's say if it would be just someone having chest pains inside the house upstairs, they would probably, if we needed, they would help get the person down if they did.
Okay, so what kind of calls do you take? Do you take any kind, or trauma? Do you take just what kind of calls will the Vergas EMS take?
Pretty much that comes through Fergus Falls with the radio. Okay. I mean, they kind of iron it out a bit for us where we go.
Okay. So all right, say we've got somebody that has gone through the ice. What kind of equipment does the Vergas response team have?
There you'd call the fire department in, because that's more of a fire department thing. That they have the Gumby suits that you could go on. When I was on the fire department, I did climb in those, and you could be in the cold water and not get cold and this kind of stuff.
I think I need one of them.
Yeah.
And so, Dean, personally, what has prompted you to be a responder?
Well, it's kind of, when we first started, we'd seen there was a need for something like this to happen. And then once we got started going on this, it kind of builds on it that people really do appreciate the service that we're providing out there for them. And sometimes you go there and there's there's a lot of help. Some of us extra people would probably visit with the family and this kind of thing that's going through some terrible, tough times too at that time.
Right.
So,
because obviously you see things and on people. In a small area like this, most of the people.
That's something that's true. The only thing is, let's say with car accidents, many times the patient is so covered with blood and whatever, you don't recognize the person, and that's happened many times. But you do also help people that and you're happy to do that.
Right. When you're getting a call and you're going into their home, it's not just and especially if there's family there, it's not just the patient that you are trying to take care of, but you are talking to the family because you know a little bit about them.
Yeah. And the biggest thing is you got to keep control so that you're not elevating the excitement level.
Oh, and that's so true. You just need that. Dean, okay, so all of this that you've talked about, a lot of times we hear people moving away from here. And so I know that you've got a few instances that you want to relate about why you don't have to be in a big city to have good emergency services.
Yes.
What do we have down on that list?
Okay. We can arrive within a short period of time, and lots of times it's less than 5-10 minutes. We take the initial readings for the ambulance service, and it's so important to do that so you don't, like let's say if you'd feed the person heavy doses of oxygen, by the time you get to the hospital, it's 100%, and it doesn't get the initial setting. The hospital is so wanting us to give the initial reading as we first get there. The area, and so you can record that description. I think one of the things that, as we wrap this up here, that I want to put on there is we have the capability of airlifting, right? Well, there again, we would call with our radio down to Vergas, say, need airlift at whatever the description, the problem, where the problem is at. And there's a helicopter stationed in and service in Detroit Lakes.
And then I've seen the airlifting, happen, where they come to the baseball field and stuff. So, Dean, as we wrap this up, I just want to thank you for the countless hours that you do put in for the community and for this. How many years has it been that you've been part of this?
EMT for 34 years.
That's pretty incredible. So
I normally like to spread that because things have changed since we've started till now to quite a bit different.
And that's for the good. But thank you for all those years of service, and just thank you for helping to keep the EMT a vital part of the Vergas community. And you have a good day in Vergas.